My question to you today is, how well do you know your communal organisations? A couple of years ago, the Australian Jewish News ran a straw poll, coinciding with the formal launch of the AJA, asking their readers if the current group of communal organisations represented their views. And the surprising result was that 57% said no. We at the Australian Jewish Association saw this as a gap in the marketplace begging to be filled, and we feel that we have been vindicated by the strong support we have received by taking a position on a range of issues that represent Jewish Australians with politically conservative views. So, has anything changed with our communal organisations? I'm going to give you an example of what's been happening in recent times, and you can judge for yourself. As many people will know, several states in the United States wanted to demonstrate their solid support for Israel and passed laws making it illegal to engage in the BDS movement. It was a great initiative, and these laws are intentionally narrow in their scope. They don't stop individuals or companies restricting their involvement with Israel, but what they do is make a statement that at a governmental level, it is not acceptable to boycott Israel on the basis of any particular views about the Middle East. In other words, it applies only to government-related activities, including government tenders and contracts. So it occurred to the AJA, could we achieve something similar here? Notwithstanding some occasional transgressions in its voting pattern at the United Nations, we have had a very pro-Israel government here for the last few years. So if the time is right for instigating an anti-BDS law, wouldn't it be a good idea to do so? The AJA got the ball rolling by approaching the government about it. It was a complex process. All the fine detail is not important, but what is important is that the proposal, which went as far as the parliamentary draftsman preparing a bill for introduction into Parliament, made it all the way to the office of then Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull, who liked the concept. But part of his response was that for him to take this matter further, he needed to know that it had the full support of the Jewish community. It was a reasonable answer, and you would think that this was not likely to be a problem, and so the AJA took the concept to various people within the community. First up, it was the Rabbinic Council of Australia who said, "Great idea." We then went to the Zionist Federation of Australia, which was under Danny Lamb's leadership at the time, who also approved it in principle. Things were looking good, but then we encountered an obstacle. Well, two obstacles really. When presented with the concept, the ECAJ, the Executive Council of Australian Jewry, said no. And to top it off, we were advised that our premier Israel lobby group in this country, AJAC, the Australia-Israel Jewish Affairs Council, also said no. Let me repeat what I just said. Here we have a proposal to formulate a very powerful pro-Israel statement by passing a law making it illegal for our governing institutions to contract with those who support the BDS program, and our official umbrella Jewish communal organisation and our highest profile Israel lobby group both allegedly said that they wouldn't endorse it. If true, then I find this absolutely outrageous. The obvious question is, why not? What could possibly be wrong with supporting an anti-BDS initiative? Well, their answers were vague, but one point they made was that it would put Israel on trial in the public arena. And this, they felt, would not be a good thing. I would ask, why not? What has Israel got to be afraid of? Surely exposing the anti-Semitism behind the BDS movement is what we have been trying to do since the movement was founded around the time of the Second Intifada. The BDS is one of the most insidious expressions of anti-Semitism to have surfaced in recent times. It singles out Israel for criticism on the basis of lies and distortions, and hypocritically targets the Jewish state when dozens of genuine human rights abusing countries around the world are ignored. SodaStream is a successful Israeli company that was based in what the world calls the West Bank, but due to international BDS pressure was forced to relocate into Israel proper. However, in the process, they had to lay off about 500 Palestinian Arab workers. This is what the BDS movement achieved. But you know what? They don't care, because the aim is not to look after Palestinian Arabs, but rather damage Israel on the world stage. Louis Brandeis, the American lawyer and Supreme Court Justice, who has a university named in his honour, said that, quote, "Sunlight is the best disinfectant." So you might think that any project that exposes the BDS movement and garners support at a federal level in this country would be unilaterally endorsed by our communal organisations. Sadly, this is not the case, and then Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull understandably refused to proceed because of a lack of unilateral support from the Jewish community. We at the Australian Jewish Association suspect that part of the reason for this is very simply because we came up with the idea. Had AJAC or the ECAJ thought of it and successfully negotiated its passage into law, they would have been screaming about it from the rooftops, about how fantastic they are. In my opinion, because it was an initiative of the AJA, they felt that they had to oppose it. Why our communal organisations are so hostile to the AGA is a whole different subject. But I ask you again, do our communal organisations really represent you? And if they don't, take yourself off to the AJ website. It's jewishassociation.org.au. Have a look at our policies, and if they appeal to you, sign up to become a member for the princely sum of $25. It would be great if you could also consider adding something as a donation. We are happy to take up the fight on your behalf, but supporting what we do is one of the few ways that you can make a difference to the public discussion. This is Alan Freedman for the Australian Jewish Association.